My greatest sins are wasted moments in time. We can lose money, people, religions, but time slips away like there's no end. At the moment you realize it's all been lies, fake love, retreats with empty promises. You got two choices. Accept that which you do not deserve, or stand alone. Follow your purpose and build what others talk about, dream about, but never make it a reality. A wise woman told me, when you're about to give up, don't. That's when you're about to have a breakthrough. I want to welcome you to another Real Talk session with your man Theodore Miles. Let's get into the show.
Today we'll go through Article 1, the constitutional underpinnings of abuse of power.
We will show that President Trump abused his power. An abuse of power. Abuse of power.
President Trump had the motive, the opportunity, and the means to commit this abuse of power.
Abuse, betrayal, and corruption. Abuse of power. Abuse.
The President Trump's abuse of power.
Abuse of power. Abuse of power.
The President abused the power of his office and executed his corrupt scheme.
Impeachment is justified for serious abuse of power. Power, 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 power.
It doesn't matter what happened after the insurgents into the Capitol building, because that doesn't have to do with incitement. Incitement it's a point in time, folks. It's a point in time when the words are spoken and the words say, implicitly say, explicitly say, commit acts of violence or lawlessness. And we don't have that here. So for the House managers to say we need depositions about things that happened after, it's just not true. But if he does, there are a lot of depositions that need to be happening. Nancy Pelosi's deposition needs to be taken. Vice President Harris's deposition absolutely needs to be taken. And not by Zoom. None of these depositions should be done by Zoom. We didn't do this hearing by Zoom. These depositions should be done in person, in my office, in Philadelphia. That's where they should be done. I don't know how many civil lawyers are here, but that's the way it works, folks. When you want somebody's deposition, you send a notice of deposition, and they appear at the place where the notice says. That's civil process. I don't know why you're laughing. It is civil process. That is the way lawyers do it. We send notices of deposition.
I would remind everybody that we will have order in the chamber during these proceedings.
I haven't laughed at any of you. And there's nothing laughable here. He mentioned my client coming in to testify. That is not the way it's done. If he wanted to talk to Donald Trump, he should have put a subpoena down, like I'm going to slap subpoenas on a good number of people. If witnesses are what is required here for them to try to get their case back in order, which has failed miserably for 4 reasons. There is no jurisdiction here. There has been no due process here. They have completely violated and ignored and stepped on the Constitution of the United States. They have trampled on it like people who have no respect for it. And if this is about nothing else, it has to be about the respect of our country, our Constitution, and all of the people that make it up. And so that I ask, when considering or voting on this witness matter, and to be clear, this may be the time to do it, but again, and everybody needs to know that the backroom politics, I'm not so much into it all, and I'm not too adept at it neither. But there was a stipulation. They felt pretty comfortable after day 2, until their case was tested on day 3. Now is the time to end this. Now is the time to hear the closing arguments. Now is the time to vote your conscience. Thank you.
Senators, how say you? Is the respondent Donald John Trump guilty or not guilty?
The answer to that question came back Saturday, 57 guilty to 43 not guilty, a tally that fell short of the 2/3 majority required in the Senate to convict former President Trump for inciting the deadly January 6th assault on the U.S. Capitol. Only 7 Republicans crossed party lines to vote guilty: Mitt Romney, Susan Collins, Ben Sasse, Pat Toomey, Lisa Murkowski, as well as Bill Cassidy and Richard Burr. Senate Majority Leader Chuck Schumer railed against the final verdict.
Despite the results of the vote on Donald Trump's conviction in the court of impeachment, he deserves to be convicted, and I believe he will be convicted in the court of public opinion.
The vote wrapped up a chaotic day in the Senate chamber after the Democratic House managers unexpectedly sought witness testimony from Republican Representative Jamie Herrera Butler of Washington State, who said late on Friday that top House Republican Kevin McCarthy had told her about a call he had with Trump while the Capitol siege was happening. But after a surprise vote to approve calling witnesses, Democrats reversed course, agreeing to simply submit her statement as evidence, which lead House Manager Jamie Raskin read aloud on the Senate floor.
When McCarthy finally reached the president on January 6th and asked him to publicly and forcefully call off the riot, the president initially repeated the falsehood that it was Antifa that had breached the Capitol. McCarthy refuted that and told the president that these were Trump supporters. That's when, according to McCarthy, the president said, "Well, Kevin, I guess these people are more upset about the election than you are."
That final piece of evidence was added to a mountain of tweets, public statements, and graphic videos that the House managers said made clear that Trump had set the stage for the violence and then did nothing to stop it. In the end, it wasn't enough to sway most Republicans, including Senate Minority Leader Mitch McConnell, who said it was his view that Trump was, quote, not eligible for conviction because he was out of office. But he also said Trump was responsible for provoking the Capitol riot.
Former President Trump's actions preceded the riot were a disgraceful dereliction of duty. There's no question, none, that President Trump is practically and morally responsible for provoking the events of the day.
What we saw in that Senate today was a cowardly group of Republicans who apparently have no options because they were afraid to defend their job, respect the institution in which they served. Imagine that it would be vandalized in so many bad ways that I won't even go into here, and that they would not respect their institution. That the president of the Senate, Mike Pence, hang Mike Pence, was the chant, and they just dismissed that. Why? Because maybe they can't get another job. What is so important about any one of us is so important about the political survival of any one of us that is more important than our Constitution that we take an oath to protect and defend. Oh, these cowardly senators who couldn't face up to what the president did and what was at stake for our country are now going to have a chance to give a little slap on the wrist. We censure people for using stationery for the wrong purpose. We don't censure people for inciting insurrection that kills people in the Capitol.
The yeas are 57. The nays are 43. 2/3 of the senators present not having pleaded guilty. The Senate judges that the respondent, Donald John Trump, former President of the United States, is not guilty as charged in the article of impeachment. The presiding officer directs judgment to be entered in accordance with the judgment of the Senate as follows. The Senate, having tried Donald John Trump, former President of the United States, upon one article of impeachment exhibited against him by the House of Representatives, and 2/3 of the senators present not having found him guilty of the charge contained therein, it is therefore ordered and adjudged that the said Donald John Trump be, and he is hereby, acquitted of the charge in said article.
So, I mean, the argument that because President Trump has left office, he shouldn't be impeached for conduct committed while he was in office doesn't make sense. I mean, why would the Constitution include the impeachment power at all if the criminal justice system serves as a suitable alternative once a president leaves office? It wouldn't. Impeachment is a remedy separate and apart from the criminal justice system, and for good reason. The presidency, I mean, it comes with special powers, extraordinary powers, not bestowed on ordinary citizens.
The court clearly directed all to know that elected officials hold the highest protections of speech, the highest protections. They know they cannot satisfy the existing constitutional standard set forth by the United States Supreme Court that has existed for more than half a century.
We begin with the historic end to the second impeachment trial of former President Donald Trump, this time accused of incitement of insurrection after the violent assault on the Capitol. Tonight, the Senate has acquitted the former president by a vote of 57 to 43, 7 Republicans joining every Democrat in voting guilty, but falling short of the 2/3 majority required to convict. The vote after a dramatic twist, the House managers acting as prosecutors, moving to call a witness about a heated phone call between Republican leader Kevin McCarthy and the former president during the siege. Mr. Trump reportedly refusing to tell the rioters to stand down. The president's lawyers expressing outrage at the move. An advisor to the former president saying if there would be witnesses, their side would call more than 300. Then a compromise. A statement from a representative about that phone call in question would be added to the record. Donald Trump immediately issuing a statement after the verdict calling impeachment yet another phase of the greatest witch hunt in the history of the country, saying his movement has only just begun.